Humanity believes that the bloodiest and largest wars in history were fought in the 20th century across two devastating world wars. We think of battlefronts, drawn borders, fallen cities, and millions of casualties. But right now, just a few inches beneath the soles of your shoes, on the grass of your garden, or between the cracks of the pavement, a global war is raging. Billions of soldiers are clashing, chemical weapons are being deployed, and intercontinental borders are being redrawn. And the combatants in this war are not even human. To understand this conflict, we need to turn the clock back to the late 19th century, into the 1890s. Deep in the heart of South America, along the muddy banks of the Paraná and Paraguay rivers, lived an unassuming species of insect, Linapithema humile, better known today as the Argentine ant. In their native homeland, these ants were remarkably modest. The South American ecosystem was packed with ruthless rival species, parasites, and predators. The Argentine ants were kept in check by a natural balance, fighting daily territorial battles just to survive, which kept their population controlled. However, as humanity entered the era of global steamship trade, we unwittingly lit a massive biological fuse. Cargoes of sugarcane, coffee, exotic plants, and tons of soil were loaded onto steamships. As these vessels left South American ports and spread across the globe, they carried hidden stowaways in their dark, humid holds. Argentine ants began a global invasion, leveraging human trade routes in a way no species had ever done before. First, they landed at the ports of New Orleans and California. Soon after, they crossed the Atlantic into Portugal, Spain, and the entire Mediterranean coastline. Over the decades, they reached Asia, establishing footholds in Japan and Australia. And that was when scientists discovered the first terrifying biological miracle. Under normal conditions, what happens when two different nests of the same ant species meet in nature? They detect each other as strangers through scent and fight a lethal war for territory. Protecting the nest is a fundamental law of nature. But with the Argentine ants, that law shattered. The ant groups transported around the world had descended from a very small founding population, which caused them to lose their genetic diversity. Almost every Argentine ant across the globe carried the exact same genetic signature. The result was staggering. When an Argentine ant from a nest in California was placed in a dish next to an Argentine ant from southern Spain or Kobe, Japan, they did not attack each other. They touched antennae, smelled each other, and began acting as one. They recognized each other not as enemies, but as brothers from the same nest. Without humanity even noticing, a mega empire was born. A single, uninterrupted supercolony was formed, stretching nearly 4,000 miles along the Mediterranean coast, spanning from San Francisco down to San Diego, and covering vast swaths of Japan. Beneath our feet lay the largest biological structure on the planet, made up of trillions of female soldiers, outweighing the total mass of the entire human population. However, this global unity would not last forever, because as all empires grow, internal collapse becomes inevitable. How did a global supercolony that shared a single identity across thousands of miles suddenly turn on itself? To understand this civil war, we must look at a fundamental rule of evolution. No biological system can copy itself perfectly forever. As Argentine ants expanded across every continent and their populations surpassed trillions, the physical distance between nests became immense. Over time, subtle genetic mutations and dietary differences created slight chemical shifts in distant corners of the empire. Ants do not obey a king or a central command. They obey chemical scents known as pheromones. The scent profile on an ant's body acts as its passport. In the late 1990s, in the San Diego region of California, something extraordinary occurred. A branch of the main Argentine supercolony underwent a minor genetic drift, altering its chemical scent. Two groups that had considered each other family for generations met at a borderline, touched antennae, and experienced a tragic breakdown. The main colony no longer recognized these ants as family, but as ruthless invaders. The mutated group responded in kind. Within a few generations, this new group completely broke away from the main empire, giving rise to a new rival power. the Lake Hodges colony. With that single shift, the largest biological empire on Earth was severed in two, and the deadliest insect civil war in history erupted. If you visit the Lake Hodges Nature Park in California today, you will see a peaceful forest under a clear blue sky. But beneath the dirt lies an invisible front line stretching for miles. Even when no humans are around, a relentless war is being fought day and night. The scale of this conflict challenges human imagination. Along this single border in San Diego, an average of 300,000 to 500,000 ants die every single day. The annual casualty count reaches into the billions. And their combat tactics are brutally sophisticated. When a scout ant detects the enemy's scent, it releases an emergency alarm pheromone. Within seconds, thousands of soldiers surge from underground tsunamis of red and brown. Argentine ants rarely engage in one-on-one duels. They employ swarm tactics. 3 or 4 ants will pin down a larger enemy by its legs and antennae, immobilizing it completely. Then, reinforcement workers tear the enemy apart or spray burning acid directly into its wounds. This devastation is not limited to their own civil war. As these two mega-colonies fight for global domination, they crush native ant species in their path. Desert ants, harvester ants, and crucial local species have been systematically wiped out, destabilizing ecosystems around the world. Yet behind this terrifying military machine lies no high command, no general, and no president. How do these leaderless armies organize such complex warfare and maintain absolute discipline? Who stands at the head of these billion-strong armies fighting a global war? Is it a ruthless emperor sitting on a throne or a supreme queen issuing commands from the dark? The answer overshadows human political history. There is no single leader. The ant world is governed by nature's most lethal, yet perfectly functioning decentralized democracy. First, we must understand one key fact. This global empire is entirely a woman's world. The sentries guarding the borders, the fierce soldiers ripping off enemy limbs, the engineers digging underground tunnels, and the workers gathering food are all female. What about the males? In this hierarchy, male ants have no rights, no leadership roles, and no authority. Their sole biological purpose is to fertilize a queen during a brief, winged mating flight. Once that task is completed, they become a burden to the colony and are left to die within days. And what about the queens in the chamber? In ordinary ant species, a nest contains only one queen. But the secret weapon that makes Argentine ants virtually unstoppable is their ability to house hundreds of queens within a single nest. Yet the word queen is misleading. These queens are not rulers with crowns. They are egg-laying factories serving the colony. They do not order soldiers into battle, nor do they decide where the colony moves. The real decisions are made collectively by millions of female worker ants. The system relies on chemical democracy. Ants communicate by releasing pheromones. When a worker discovers a new food source or a battlefront, she leaves a chemical trail behind her. This trail acts as a vote. As other workers encounter the scent, they choose whether to follow it and add their own pheromones. The stronger the scent becomes, the higher the vote count. Once a critical threshold is reached, hundreds of thousands of ants move as one. No individual commanded it, yet the entire army acts with terrifying precision. And the most brutal aspect of this system is reserved for the queens themselves. If a queen grows old, if her egg production drops, or if she becomes a drain on resources, the female workers show no mercy. They surround their own queen, neutralize her with chemical secretions, and execute her without hesitation. There is no royalty, no divine right, and no legacy here. The only law that matters is the absolute survival of the colony. So, as humanity builds skyscrapers and draws borders on maps, just a few inches beneath the dirt, a leaderless female empire votes with chemicals and wages an endless world war. We think we are the masters of this planet, fighting our own historical wars. But the true world war has been raging long before us, and its ultimate victor may never be human.